President Lee Jae-myung is set to make his debut on the world's top diplomatic stage next week in New York. During a 5-day trip, he will address the UN General Assembly and become the first South Korean leader to chair a Security Council open debate. Hyundai announces a strategic shift in the U.S. market in response to tariffs and EV market challenges, increasing investment in local production and planning its first North American pickup truck. President Lee marks the anniversary of a key inter-Korean military deal with a pledge for peace, vowing to proceed with patience while reaffirming no intention of unification by absorption. On top of this, we break down what the Unification Ministry has said and what the deal means at this point in time. Good evening. Welcome to Newscenter. We begin at the top office today. The presidential office outlined President Lee Jae-myung's trip to New York, where he will attend the United Nations General Assembly next week. Diplomacy and the economy will be the key themes of his visit. Our presidential office correspondent, Song Yoo-jin, starts us off.
Less than a month after his trip to Washington, President Lee Jae-myung is heading back to the United States next week, this time to New York. There, he will make his debut at the United Nations at the UN General Assembly's high-level week. National Security Advisor Lee Sung-rak briefed reporters on the president's 5-day trip on Friday.
Through this visit, we aim to highlight South Korea's contributions to the international community, strengthen bilateral ties with key countries, and boost international confidence in our economy.
Upon his arrival on Monday, President Lee will meet with Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock and co-chair of the World Economic Forum, to discuss artificial intelligence and energy transition. He will also sit down with U.S. lawmakers calling for Congress to play a more active role in advancing South Korea-U.S. relations. The spotlight will fall on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Tuesday, Lee will address the UN General Assembly in front of some 190 heads of state and government.
Through this address, President Lee will declare South Korea's restoration of democracy, outline his administration's vision for the Korean Peninsula, and share how we can contribute to global peace and prosperity.
He's also set to hold bilaterals with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, as well as the leaders of France, Italy, and Poland. However, Lee said a summit with U.S. President Donald Trump is not planned, given their recent face-to-face last month. Then on Wednesday, President Lee will chair an open debate at the UN Security Council on maintaining international peace and security through artificial intelligence. This will mark the first time a South Korean president chairs such a session, made possible by Korea's rotating presidency of the 15-member body this month. Finally, on Thursday morning, Lee will host the South Korea Investment Summit in Manhattan, where he will encourage greater investment in South Korea to heavyweight financiers and business leaders. The UN General Assembly's high-level week is widely seen as the world's biggest stage for multilateral diplomacy. Attention will be on what message President Lee delivers and what diplomatic and economic gains he'll achieve from his New York trip. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Arirang TV hosted a special Korea Day event in New York to promote the country ahead of the President Lee Jae-myung's attendance at the UN General Assembly. The event took place on Wednesday local time at Citi Field during a Major League Baseball game between the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. Promotional videos showcasing Korea's travels, destinations, and cultural heritage were shown on the stadium's large screens. Through this initiative, Arirang TV was able to introduce Korean culture to the thousands sitting in the audience. South Korea's trade talks with the United States are at a critical crossroads with billions of dollars, auto tariffs, and even visas for workers on the line. Our Moon Hae-ryun has the details on the progress made during the trade minister's most recent visit to Washington.
Minister for Trade Yeo Han-gu is back in Seoul after high-stakes talks in Washington that could reshape tariffs, investment, and even visa rules between South Korea and the United States. Speaking to reporters at Incheon Airport on Friday, he said that the main objective of the trip was to highlight key differences between Korea and Japan in terms of U.S. negotiations.
We are presenting various objective data and analysis to make clear that Japan and Korea are different, and we are doing our best to persuade the U.S. side.
Yeo's visit, which began on Monday, comes after follow-up negotiations stalled despite a major trade deal reached back in July. Under that deal, Seoul agreed to invest $350 billion in the U.S., while both sides pledged to lower tariffs on autos from 25% to 15%. But the deal has yet to be implemented. Just last week, U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick warned that Korea must accept the agreement or pay tariffs, signaling Washington's growing impatience. Japan, which sealed its deal earlier, committed to a larger $550 billion investment and signed a memorandum that heavily favored the U.S. in profit sharing. In exchange, Japan's auto tariffs were lowered to 15% and implemented earlier this week. Yeo emphasized the urgency of finding a quick solution.
We fully recognize the seriousness of the situation, and we are making every effort to resolve the issue as quickly as possible.
Beyond trade, Yeo pressed the U.S. to resolve a visa dispute after immigration authorities detained Korean workers at a Hyundai LG battery plant in Georgia. He wrapped up his remarks by reaffirming Seoul's stance that national interest remains the government's top priority. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Hyundai Motor Company has voiced hopes for a prompt deal between Seoul and Washington to lower U.S. tariffs on Korean-made automobiles and their parts to 15% from the current 25%. Our correspondent Moon Ji-young has details.
Hyundai Motor Company President Jose Munoz says he hopes South Korea and the United States can quickly reach a follow-up trade agreement to lower U.S. tariff on Korean-made vehicles. He made the remarks at the 2025 CEO Investor Day in New York on Thursday local time, where he unveiled the company's mid to long-term strategy. He noted that the company's financial guidance was based on the 25% tariff rate, but said a reduction to 15% would bring results close enough to maintain the company's goals. This comes as Hyundai has already adjusted its operating profit margin target downwards by 1 percentage point to 6 to 7%, a move significantly impacted by the 25% tariff, unlike the 15% applied to Japanese competitors.
We all hope that both governments will be able to achieve an agreement that would pose a strong performance of the company, even if on the 15%.
In response to these tariff hurdles and to solidify its presence in the U.S. market, the automaker has ramped up its investment to approximately $11 billion for the 2025 to 2028 period. The move is aimed at expanding U.S. production capacity and establishing a robotic ecosystem. Furthermore, with the termination of tax credits under the IRA dampening EV market prospects, Hyundai has pivoted its mid to long-term strategy. EV sales targets have been replaced with a focus on eco-friendly vehicles, including hybrids. The company also plans to launch its first mid-size pickup truck before 2030 in North America, targeting one of the largest segments in the industry. On the recent detention and release of more than 300 South Korean workers at its battery plant construction site in Georgia, Munoz clarified that the workers were involved in the final testing of advanced battery production technology. He also expressed hope for solutions on short-term technical work visas.
We hope the US and Korea can work on mutually beneficial solutions for short-term business travel, especially for specialized technical expertise.
This year marks Hyundai Motor's first overseas unveiling of its mid to long-term strategy and financial plans, interpreted as emphasizing a nimble response to complex global auto market crises, including in the U.S. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung says his government will do what it should, step by step, to restore the spirit of September 19 Inter-Korean military agreement. On this day, marking 7 years since the pact was signed, Lee took to social media to say that peace is the foundation of democracy and economic prosperity. He acknowledged that it's hard to swiftly restore trust once it's broken, but he will proceed with patience. The South Korean commander-in-chief reaffirmed that Seoul has no intention of pursuing unification by absorption. Now, Unification Minister Chung Dong-young said on Friday that the Inter-Korean military agreement should be proactively restored before the end of this year and that discussions are currently underway. The remarks were made at a forum that took place at Camp Greaves in Paju, just 2 kilometers from the demilitarized zone, saying the former Yoon Suk-yeol administration created an ambiance of hostility and confrontation through an increased number of ROK-US joint exercises. The minister said Seoul now needs to become a peace pace-setter for U.S.-North Korea dialogue to come soon. On the same day, National Security Advisor Ri Sung-rak stated that the government will work to reduce tensions and build trust between the 2 Koreas, even if it is not specifically related to the agreement, as long as it does not compromise national security. 7 years ago today, on September 19, 2018, the 2 Koreas signed a military agreement, like we talked about, suspending military activities near the border. But last year, the deal was scrapped under the previous administration, and the Lee administration is now seeking to restore it to ease inter-Korean tensions. Our Oh Soo-young explains what the deal entailed and what it will take to restore it.
Signed in 2018, the September 19th Inter-Korean Military Pact aimed to lower tensions along one of the world's most heavily armed borders, the Inter-Korean Military Demarcation Line. Amid dialogue between South and North Korea, then-President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un agreed to cease hostilities across land, air and sea, moving quickly to remove frontline guard posts and work towards the demilitarization of the inter-Korean border. They also banned artillery drills and large-scale field exercises near the border and created buffer zones at sea, prohibiting live fire training and naval maneuvers. In the air, the pact established no-fly zones to stop reconnaissance flights and live fire exercises. The 2 Koreas further agreed to work on the joint recovery of war remains and the shared use of the Hangang River estuary. However, after the US-North Korea summit in Hanoi broke down in February 2019, Pyongyang resumed missile launches and later that year a coastal artillery drill in the West Sea, violating the Inter-Korean Pact. Tensions further rose in 2022 when 5 North Korean drones entered the South's airspace, breaking the agreement's ban on hostile aerial acts. And the North in 2023 launched a military reconnaissance satellite, violating UN Security Council resolutions. This prompted Seoul to partially suspend the no-fly zones and decide on resuming surveillance flights along the border. The next day, North Korea declared it would terminate the agreement. After the regime flew a series of trash-carrying balloons to the south, Seoul also declared an end to the agreement in June last year. While North Korea has continued to seek a nuclear state status and develop its weapons of mass destruction, South Korea's new government this year is seeking to build trust and diplomacy with Pyongyang. After a series of dovish gestures since its inauguration, President Lee Jae-myung last month ordered ministries to work towards restoring the September military agreement proactively in stages.
The essence of the pact is not so much removing the security risk, but it's the most basic safety apparatus to prevent accidental clashes or war from breaking out. So it doesn't necessarily resolve the situation, but without it, the situation is much more dangerous.
While proponents deem it an essential confidence-building and risk reduction measure, others have long voiced concerns that given the North's track record of literally blowing up deals, South Korea would only be letting its guard down. In any case, North Korea for now seems disinterested in rapprochement, particularly as it's benefiting from aiding Russia's war in Ukraine.
If the war ends quickly, North Korea-US dialogue will draw closer, and the possibility of inter-Korean dialogue cannot be ruled out. However, if the negotiations to end the Ukraine war stretch on, North Korea will maintain its stance of treating the South and the US as hostile states, applying pressure on the South.
While inter-Korean relations remain elusive, the fate of the dormant agreement also remains uncertain. But what's clear is that conditions on the Korean peninsula and its surrounding geopolitical environment have changed vastly over the last 7 years, making terms for military restraint that much harder to achieve and perhaps all the more necessary. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
South Korea will continue developing its so-called pragmatic diplomacy, defining it as an adaptive approach to navigating times of geopolitical uncertainty. In a Q&A session with foreign media on Friday, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun emphasized the Lee Jae-myung administration's foreign policy mantra.
This government's major policy is to pursue pragmatic diplomacy, navigating changes as they arise, rather than being bound by predetermined directions or ideologies.
In doing so, Cho reaffirmed Seoul's stance that it will strengthen its alliance with Washington and Tokyo despite some bilateral sticking points while pursuing mature relations with China as a close neighboring country. When asked about his talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Cho said Beijing's policy on the Korean peninsula remains unchanged despite its omission of the term denuclearization in the readout following their meeting. He said he hopes to turn the expected visit of President Xi Jinping into an opportunity to further develop their relations. On Russia, Cho said that Seoul will maintain open channels with Moscow but ruled out launching new initiatives while the Ukraine war continues. Global e-commerce giant Amazon, in collaboration with South Korean cosmetics manufacturer Kolmar Holdings, held a 2025 Amazon K-Beauty event in Seoul to connect and expand their global customer base. Our business correspondent Park Jun-an was there.
With the theme K-Beauty Glowing Up the World, South Korea's key players in the cosmetics industry gathered in Seoul alongside officials from Amazon Global Selling. The event highlighted the success of Korean beauty products and the company's long-term vision using Amazon's global commerce platform.
K-Beauty is no longer just about effectiveness and price. It is now positioning itself as a complete experience for global consumers. Our goal is very clear. We want to introduce more K-Beauty brands to customers worldwide and highlight the unique competitive edge K-Beauty brings to the global market.
Korean cosmetics exports have seen a dramatic surge over the past 12 years. From 2012 to 2024, South Korea's cosmetics exports surged by over 850%, showing a strong annual year-on-year growth trend. Vice Chairman Yoon Sang-yeon of Kolmar Holdings, a leading cosmetics manufacturer in South Korea, said companies must create blockbuster products that deliver strong sales and symbolize success.
To achieve success, I would like to emphasize that one must relentlessly improve their products and continuously evolve by incorporating customer feedback. You must build the product's competitiveness based on understanding consumers' needs, and then leverage that competitiveness to grow it into a blockbuster product.
A health and beauty general manager at Amazon US stores says the key to success lies in connecting customers with the brand, enabling them to actively engage while shopping.
K-Beauty is our fastest growing beauty segment. I'm proudly saying it's growing faster than any other business segment at Amazon today. The growth is not only because we have fantastic brands, your brands, but it's because also we have incredible customer engagement.
The CEO and founder of APR Corporation, which developed the globally successful Medicube Booster Pro, defined irreversible experience and fierce competition as the solutions for success.
Meeting customers' needs is customer success. That mindset drove us to improve our products, which customers clearly appreciate.
Leveraging Amazon's global e-commerce capabilities and South Korea's expertise in beauty product development, the Korean cosmetics industry is poised for boundless growth, giving it an even stronger competitive edge. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Long before K-pop, there was Korean traditional music, Kugak, South Korea's first ever Kugak Expo is now underway in Yeongdong-gun County in the very center of South Korea. Our Park Hyo-bin takes us there.
Under the cool autumn breeze, Korea's lively rhythms fill the air. Performers play traditional Korean instruments such as 꽹과리 and 장구 to the beat of 풍물, lifting the spirit of the crowd. The World Traditional Music and Arts Expo has opened in Yeongdong-gun County, Chungcheongbuk-do Province, known as the home of Korea's traditional music. It's also known as the Yeongdong World Kugak Expo, with Kugak meaning traditional Korean music.
There are 33 of us here today for the Expo. It's bigger than I expected, and even at the entrance, we were saying how well it's set up. We'll look around some more. I've always loved traditional Korean music.
I really loved it. The atmosphere was so lively, and I'll definitely come back if they hold it again.
It isn't only Korean music that draws attention. A variety of sights, dances, and stage acts paired with traditional sounds captivate visitors. One of them is Bonanori, similar to a plate-spinning show that's part of the UNESCO-listed Intangible Cultural Heritage, Namsadangnori. The basic step known as ipchum, which underlies every movement in Korean dance, highlights the beauty of traditional performance. Alongside these traditional acts, there's also a fusion kugak that combines Korean heritage with modern music, with more than 200 performances and busking sessions in total. The expo isn't just about Korean sounds. Musicians from 30 countries, including China, Russia, and the Czech Republic, are sharing their instruments and performances, creating a true cross-cultural stage. The organizing committee says it hopes this exchange will broaden appreciation for world traditions and help Kugak reach a wider global audience.
The Expo is not only Korea's first, but also the first of its kind worldwide. Here, you can experience the past, present, and future of Korean traditional music and enjoy outstanding dance and music from 30 invited countries, all in one place.
The expo shows that tradition, when shared, can become a language the whole world understands. The Yeongdong World Kugak Expo runs until October 11th, bringing Korea and the world together through music. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
There are many reasons to wait for Fridays, and one of them is definitely the arts and culture coverage by our culture correspondent Park Kwon-woo. He's here in the studio with us yet again. Happy Friday, Kwon-woo.
Happy Friday, Horan.
Now, you just got back from Busan, we saw. Tell us more about what you saw.
Yes, I just came back literally from Busan, South Korea's at the South Korea's largest film festival, which is called the Busan International Film Festival, or BIF. And that will run through this next Friday after it kicked off Wednesday. And this year marks the 30th anniversary of its launch in 1996, a milestone that many people say has brought together literally the best lineup yet. The whole city heated up as fans screamed in excitement while world-renowned celebrities and directors walked the red carpet before the opening ceremony. Among them were Hollywood action star Mila Jovovich, Jafar Panahi, who recently won the Palme d'Or at the 2025 Cannes Film Festival, and Guillermo del Toro, known for his upcoming Netflix film Frankenstein. Also joining were the people behind the opening film No Other Choice, including star director Park Chan-wook and leading actors Lee Byung-hun and Son Ye-jin. Speaking of the opening film, which I also got the chance to preview, the movie makers share what you can expect.
As an actor who'd worked on this film for a long time, I found it completely different every time I watched it, finding new details and mise-en-scene that I hadn't noticed before. It's truly a film that needs to be experienced in theaters.
Based on an American novel, the story was recreated in a Korean setting, reflecting themes of home ownership and patriarchy. Through this, the film portrays the limits and follies of the main character, something audiences will relate to.
And at the venue where the film premiered, the atmosphere was filled with excitement and a sense of unity as people from all over the world came together with one shared passion for movies.
Now, Kwon-woo, you've been emphasizing this for the past 2 days. It's the 30th anniversary. What's something special about this year's, marking the anniversary.
Yes, so marking the milestone, there are like plenty of special events going on. And one of the most important things is a competition segment that has been created called the Busan Awards. A total of 14 Asian films from countries including Korea, Japan, and Iran will be competing in 5 different categories: the grand prize, best director, best actor, and so on. 7 jurors, including Korean star movie makers Na Hong-jin and Han Hyo-ju, and Hong Kongese celebrity Yang Ga-hui were also chosen. They will continue judging throughout the coming days and announce the winner on the closing day.
It's important to watch without prejudice. As judging is much harder than just watching, I'll do my best alongside my distinguished fellow jurors to make this a meaningful event. And since I'm the youngest, I'll bring a fresh perspective.
As filmmakers, we ultimately hope audiences come to theaters, as watching on the big screen is a completely different experience from streaming at home. As jurors, our responsibility is to discover the finest works for the festival.
So this category has greater significance as BIFF introduced it to make the event more competitive, just like film festivals in Cannes and Venice. According to organizers, the move also aims to serve as a breakthrough for the film industry, which has been struggling recently, saying more interest will be garnered as people love competitions. Just as BIFF once inspired other cities to launch their own festivals like Busan's International Fantastic Film Festival and Jeonju's International Film Festival, the move is hoped to have another positive impact on the industry. Another important aim of this year's event is to reach a wider audience, meaning it plans to hold events more relevant to the visitors. And one major event will be the very first sing-along premiere of K-pop Demon Hunters in Korea. Another highlight is the Open Talk program, where visitors can meet filmmakers up close and hear them answer questions the public is most curious about.
I also heard for this year there's a lot of collaborative work between Korea and other countries for the festival.
So there are lots of collaborative works going on at the film festival, as among like the total 241 films from 64 different countries are being premiered right now. Many of them are collaborative works with Korean movie makers. And one of them is The Protector, the first ever Hollywood film led by a Korean production company. Premiering in Busan for the first time ever, the filmmakers shared their excitement about being part of such a groundbreaking project.
We're just scratching the surface of how Korean and American Hollywood productions can be made together, really work together to kind of condense the script and really get to the core, the essence of it that could really affect people on a worldwide level.
In the past few years, Korean content has become very big outside of Korea. Being able to create this story, it's an honest piece of work, and that translates to any culture.
Another buzzworthy project is Hana Korea, which depicts a North Korean defector's life through a Northern European director's perspective. The scenario was assisted by Sharon Choi, director Bong Joon-ho's translator during his Oscar win, and performed by Korean actors to deliver authenticity. Likewise, the Japanese hit Gokuho that surpassed 10 million viewers in Japan, the first case a Korean director has achieved such a record. And the remake of The Wedding Banquet by a Korean-American director featuring renowned Korean actor Yoon Yo-jung also premieres throughout the festival.
All right, Kono, I'm so excited about these feature films. Thank you for the wrap-up this week again.
All right, thank you.
Even though clear blue skies appeared yesterday, it's raining again across the country. The expected amount of rain is more than 80 millimeters in Daejeon, Sejong, Chungcheongnam-do Province, and Jeollabuk-do Province, and 10 to 60 millimeters in other areas. In particular, strong and heavy rain of 30 to 50 millimeters per hour will fall in Chungcheongnam-do Province and the western parts of Jeollabuk-do Province. With rain falling, the temperatures turn to autumn-like readings. Today's daytime temperature in Seoul only rose to 21 degrees Celsius and will rise to 24 degrees tomorrow, lower than the average temperature for this time of year. Tomorrow morning will start cool at 18 degrees in Seoul, 16 degrees in Chuncheon. Daily highs will go up to 26 degrees in Daejeon, Gwangju, and Gyeongju, 27 degrees in Daegu. Rain is forecast all over the country again next Wednesday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. I'm Kim Do-yeon in Seoul. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and have a great weekend.